Hey, before we jump into this week's episode, I wanted to let you know about a free guide that is on my website that is going to help you take your goal setting strategy to a whole new level. So go to christyfexer.com/emotions and download my guide that is going to help you identify exactly what it is that you're actually trying to get out of your goal setting strategy. Start here first. Okay, let's get into our episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of All in the Name of Growth. I am excited to dive into our topic today, which is what is fear? And I want to just bust through this. I don't want to draw this out and make it into this gigantic thing. I want to really give you the nuts and bolts of what is fear, some of our most common fears, and how you can overcome it. That's the part I really want to get to, because it's one thing to know what it is. It's another thing to just be able to banish it and obliterate it, as my 11-year-old would say. So first, what is fear? It's a thought in your head. It's a thought, usually a worry about something in the future that may or may not ever even happen. And we create a physical manifestation from that fear that is like, say we're driving along the road and somebody comes and cuts us off. Oh my gosh, I'm afraid I'm going to get in a wreck. Or, oh my gosh, I almost died. Or it gives you, there's a physical reaction that usually accompanies fear. And so even in bed in the middle of the night, we'll wake up and all of a sudden we have all of these fears. What if somebody breaks into my house? What if blah, blah, blah? What if I lose my job? What if? And it's all future things that you're worrying about. The only way to actually overcome any of them is to get in control of what's going on in here and out here. And I understand that you can't control everything, but there are a lot of things that you can control. So let's talk first about what are some of the most common fears. So people have a fear of public speaking. They have a fear of being criticized. They have a fear of the unknown, of change, maybe a fear of being unhealthy or dying, maybe a fear of being alone or having somebody leave them. There are a lot of fears. And in every single one of those examples that I gave, they're all future-based. None of them are happening right now. And it's so important to identify what that is so that you can overcome it, because if you don't acknowledge it, you cannot fix it. That is one of my core beliefs in life. You cannot fix what you don't acknowledge. If you don't ever just stop and think, what am I actually afraid of? What is actually going on in my head? Instead of just spinning it around and around and around and around and letting it get out of control, stop for a minute and ask yourself, what actually is this? And that's actually the first step in overcoming fear, is that you need to identify it. Identify it for exactly what it is. Is it unhealthy or is it dying? Is it public speaking or is it being criticized? Is it leaving this relationship or is it being alone? You have to be absolutely specific with the thing it is you're trying to overcome. Otherwise, you will never overcome it. Because one of the things that we do with fear is we just let it spin around in our head out there kind of in the nebulous, and we just make it into this behemoth-sized thing, when in all actuality, it isn't actually that big of a deal. But because we never identify it and say, okay, it's actually that I am afraid that I'm going to get up and I'm going to talk to these people and they're going to think I'm stupid. Okay, well, you know what? They might think you're stupid, but is that any of your business? No. If you've done your best, if you've put in your best effort, if you've shown up in a way that you felt good about, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's literally none of your business, because everybody has opinions and everybody's a critic and everybody wants to share their opinions, especially on the internet. But the chances of somebody actually coming up to you and being like, I just wanted to let you know I really hated everything that you just said, that's really far-fetched, which is the second part of overcoming fear. First, you need to identify it, and then you need to logic it out. The thing is that the chances of somebody coming up to you and saying that they hated whatever it was that you said is so infinitesimal that if somebody actually did that, you would know that they were actually the jerk in the situation. Because who does that? Not nice people. And if they're not nice people and they're not respectful, you don't need them in your life. And you certainly don't need to take their opinions into your head. So in logicking it out, you need to ask yourself, what is the likelihood that this is actually going to happen? What is the likelihood that somebody's actually going to break into my house in the middle of the night? Well, for some people that might be a little bit higher because based off of the neighborhood that you live in. In my neighborhood, when I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh my goodness, are all the doors locked? The likelihood of somebody actually breaking into my house is really, 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 really slim. So you need to logic that part of it out. If I leave this relationship, am I going to be alone for the rest of my life? I'm going to tell you there are 8 billion people almost on the planet. The likelihood of you being alone, that there's nobody else out there for you, is really, really, really infinitesimally small as well. There is somebody out there for you. There are people out there who will love you and that they will have your back, that they will be your true friend. I wholeheartedly believe that this world is filled with an incredible amount of amazing people who are out there struggling with the same things that you are. And yes, there are a few bad apples. I will not deny that. But they are not the majority. So first, identify it. Second, logic it out. And this is a really good journal exercise for you to do. Get out a piece of paper and a pen, write it down. Because when we can get out of our head what's happening and either get it out of our mouth verbally or onto paper so we can see it for what it is, it helps us be able to make it into actually what it is. So the third thing is that you need to trust yourself that you're going to figure it out. Whatever it is, come what may, you are smart enough and capable enough to figure it out. That is huge. If you sit with that for just 1 second and ask yourself, maybe even in that situation, well, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? It empowers you in ways you will not even believe or you cannot even imagine. Because when you know that whatever it is that comes up, you're going to figure it out, it removes so much of the fear, so much of the power of fear. Because if you know you can figure it out, then you can keep taking steps forward, which is number 4, and that's taking action. Feel the fear, do it anyways. Say you're having to make cold calls for your job. Feel the fear, do it anyways. Say you have to give a presentation for work. Feel the fear, do it anyway. The only way to actually overcome fear is to show yourself that you didn't die, which is the thing that fear is supposed to be holding us back from, right? In our most innate human instincts, what our body, our fear, our subconscious mind, everything is trying to do is to keep us alive. It's trying to keep us from not dying. And so fear is like, oh my gosh, no, that's scary. You might die. You're not going to die from public speaking. You're not going to die from leaving that relationship. You're not going to die from quitting your job. It's all going to be okay. Fear is there to be a guide, and a lot of times it's actually a really crappy guide. So make sure that you are taking that action that teaches you, 1, that you've got your own back, and 2, that that thing wasn't as scary as you actually thought it was going to be. I cannot tell you how many times I have talked to people that have done the action anyways, and they're like, that wasn't half as bad as I thought it was going to be. And it's true. So if you will logic it out, identify it, logic it out, trust that you're going to figure it out, and take action. Everything that's in the future is within your control. And yes, like I said, there are going to be points where somebody comes in and they just like derail your whole path, and you have to look at your life and be like, oh my gosh, now what am I going to do? That takes you back to number 3. You'll figure it out. You've got this. You can handle this. Fear is just a thought. And when you get in control of your thoughts, you get in control of your life. So my challenge for you today is the next time that heart starts racing and you start sweating and you start thinking that all those crazy thoughts in your head about what this thing is, stop. Get out a piece of paper, write it down. What is it? What is the likelihood it's actually going to happen? Trust that you're going to figure it out and then take the action. All right, friends, we'll catch up with you next week.